The towering leader. The night sky was quiet, the human camp hidden in the valley, fires glowing like small stars on the ground. Soldiers whispered as shadows moved beyond the fences. Everyone could feel it. Something was coming. Something not human. Then she appeared, tall, almost 8 feet, her body shining faintly under the moon, armor made of black metal that reflected firelight, her long limbs moving with power, her eyes glowing faint blue. Every human froze the moment they saw her. Some raised their rifles, others stepped back in fear. She was not just another alien, she was their leader. Her name had been whispered in military reports, spoken in fear by commanders. Her people called her Vara, the tall flame, the one who ruled battles with both mind and strength. She was known for never bowing, never asking, and never forgiving. But tonight, Vara walked into the human camp alone, no army behind her, no weapons raised, only her heavy steps echoing across the dirt. The air grew cold, the soldiers could hear their own breathing, no one dared to fire. Captain Reynolds, the human officer in charge, stepped forward nervously. His voice shook as he asked, "Why are you here?" His men pointed weapons, waiting for the order, but the alien queen raised her hand slowly. And in that moment, no one moved. Daniel, a young human scientist working in the camp, stood behind the line of soldiers. His heart beat fast. Unlike the others, he was not looking at her armor, he was looking at her skin. He noticed something strange. Thin glowing lines spread across her neck and arms like cracks filled with light. It looked unnatural, painful, like her body was breaking from inside. Vara's voice was deep, strong, but there was a hint of struggle beneath it. "I come not for war," she said. "I come to speak to one of you." Her glowing eyes scanned the crowd, then stopped on Daniel. Everyone turned, surprised. The soldiers whispered, "The alien leader wants the scientist." Daniel felt his knees weaken. Why him? He was not a soldier. He was not a commander. He was only a researcher who studied alien biology. Captain Reynolds tried to stop it. "He is not important. If you want to talk, you speak to me." But Vara ignored him. Her gaze never left Daniel. Her voice grew heavier. "No, I speak to the one who understands life." Daniel swallowed hard. He knew this was dangerous. One wrong move and the soldiers might open fire. But something in her eyes stopped him. She was not here to kill, she was here for something else, something no one could guess. The tension grew. The silence stretched. Even the fires seemed to burn quieter. Daniel finally took a step forward, against every warning in his mind. Against the shouts of the captain, he stood in front of the towering alien, her shadow covering him like a wall. Up close, he saw the cracks on her skin more clearly, glowing veins that pulsed with light. But the light was unstable, flickering like a candle about to go out. Her breathing was heavier than before, almost as if walking here had drained her. Daniel found himself speaking before he could stop. "You're in pain, aren't you?" The words slipped out soft, but every soldier heard them. Gasps filled the camp. No one had ever dared to speak to her like that. Her soldiers, hidden in the shadows beyond the valley, hissed in anger. Their sharp voices carried through the night. But Vara raised her hand and silenced them without looking back. Her eyes stayed on Daniel, her lips curved slightly. Not a smile, but almost respect. "You see what others do not," she said quietly. "Yes, human, I am breaking my body, my blood. My very life is tearing itself apart." Her words shocked the camp. The great alien leader, the one feared across worlds, admitting weakness in front of humans. Daniel's mind raced. His studies had spoken of alien DNA that was unstable, fragments that broke down over time, but he never thought their leader would suffer from it. He whispered, "Your DNA is collapsing." Vara nodded slowly, her towering frame trembling for just a moment. "You know," she said, "that is why I came." The soldiers grew restless. Fingers on triggers, Captain Reynolds shouted for Daniel to step back, but Daniel couldn't. He saw her pain. He saw her struggle. And he felt something the others didn't. Not fear, but curiosity. And maybe compassion. The towering leader leaned closer, her glowing eyes burning into him, her voice like thunder mixed with sorrow. Human, you will help me. The camp froze in silence. The fire crackled. The night air felt heavy. And Daniel realized, in that moment, his life had changed forever. He was no longer just a scientist in a war camp. He was the one chosen by the alien queen herself. And behind her strong words, he saw something else. A plea she would never admit. A cry for survival, hidden under layers of pride and power. The towering leader had come to him, and nothing would ever be the same again. The human's curiosity. The camp had not slept that night. Whispers moved like smoke between the tents. Soldiers argued. Officers demanded answers. Why had the alien queen come? Why had she chosen a single human scientist? No one trusted her, and yet no one dared attack her. Daniel sat alone inside a small tent lit by a single lamp. His hands shook as he looked at his notes. He had spent years studying alien biology, drawing strange symbols, mapping their DNA like broken puzzles. But now the puzzle had walked into his life in the shape of an 8-foot leader. He could not stop thinking about her eyes, the way they had locked on him, not with hate, but with something else, almost a hidden need. He remembered the cracks glowing on her skin, flickering like lightning under the surface. It was not just strange, it was dangerous outside. Captain Reynolds argued with his men. "She's tricking us, she wants the boy for leverage," he growled. "We will not allow her to take him." But the soldiers were unsure. They had seen the way she silenced her own warriors, the way she showed weakness for just a moment. No trick they had ever known felt like that. When dawn broke, the camp gates opened slowly. The queen stood waiting, her armor dark, her breathing heavy. Her soldiers kept their distance in the valley beyond. It was clear she had come alone again, and once more her glowing eyes searched only for him. Daniel felt every stare as he walked out. The soldiers muttered, "He's walking to his death," but he kept moving, his steps shaky, his curiosity stronger than his fear. When he reached her, she leaned down so close he could feel the heat of her skin. "You saw my weakness," she said softly, a voice meant only for him. "Now you will see the truth?" Daniel's mouth was dry, his mind raced with questions, but only one left his lips. "Why me?" For the first time, the towering leader did not speak with power. Her words came almost like a whisper. "Because you are the only one who dared look at me not as a weapon but as life." The soldiers behind him shifted, confused. Reynolds shouted that Daniel should step back, but Daniel ignored him, his eyes fixed on her glowing scars. "They're unstable," he said quietly. "Your DNA is splitting apart, strand by strand." Her gaze sharpened, but she did not deny it. Instead, she asked, "Can you stop it?" Daniel felt his chest tighten. No human had ever been asked this by a being so feared. The queen of her people standing before him not as a ruler but as someone desperate. The scientist in him wanted to say yes. The man in him wanted to run. "I don't know," he admitted. "It could kill you, or it could change you." The camp erupted with shouts, officers yelling, soldiers raising their weapons, but Vara's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. "Then you will try." Daniel looked around, everyone's eyes on him, fear and anger mixing in their faces, but inside he felt something else. Curiosity, the burning need to understand. He had studied her kind for years from afar. Never had he touched, never had he tested. And now the greatest subject of all was asking him to. Late that day, while the soldiers kept watch, Daniel was brought into a larger tent, one that smelled of metal and strange oils. Vara stood there, removing pieces of her armor, her frame towering, her skin glowing brighter now, the cracks spreading further across her body. She looked both terrifying and fragile. Daniel approached slowly, his hands shaking. "I'll need blood samples," he whispered. She nodded without hesitation, pressing her arm forward. Her veins pulsed with blue light. He slid the needle in carefully. The liquid inside the tube shimmered like liquid fire. When he held it up to the lamp, he gasped. The DNA strands inside were alive, twisting and breaking, rewriting themselves at impossible speed. "This isn't natural," he murmured. "It's collapsing." Vara watched him closely, her voice low. "My people were made to be strong, but our makers gave us a curse. The stronger we grow, the faster we burn. The words shook him. He realized she was more than a leader. She was a prisoner of her own body, her power eating her alive. Hours passed as he worked, scribbling notes, watching cells break and reform. Soldiers peeked in nervously, but none dared enter. The queen sat silent, her eyes always on him, not with anger, but with something strange, as if she was studying him too. Finally, Daniel looked up, exhaustion on his face. If I alter your DNA, I can slow the collapse, maybe even stabilize it, but the cost. He hesitated. You may never be the same. Her glowing eyes narrowed, her tall shadow leaning closer. Then I will no longer be their queen, she said. I will be something else. Daniel felt the weight of her words. She was ready to give up her crown, her very identity for a chance at life, and she had chosen him to hold that chance in his hands. The lamp flickered. The camp was silent outside, and Daniel realized he was standing at the edge of something greater than himself. Not just science, not just survival, but a bond forming between a human and a being who was never meant to bow to anyone. And in that silence, his curiosity burned. Brighter than his fear, he would not stop now. The human had stepped closer to the alien queen than anyone before, and the path ahead would change them both forever. The forbidden experiment. The camp grew restless as the sun began to sink. Torches burned brighter against the darkening sky. Soldiers watched with suspicion, their fingers always near their triggers. No one trusted the towering queen, and even fewer trusted Daniel, the young scientist who now stood at the edge of a choice that could change everything. Inside the medical tent, the air smelled of metal, chemicals, and faint smoke from burning oil. Daniel leaned over his small table filled with strange devices, tubes glowing faintly, notes scattered everywhere. His heart beat hard in his chest. For years he had studied alien DNA through samples, always at a distance, but now the queen herself sat across from him. Vara removed the last piece of her heavy armor. It fell to the floor with a dull thud. Her tall frame seemed even larger without it. Her skin glowed in faint patterns, cracks running up her arms and neck like lightning trapped beneath the surface. Every flicker of light seemed unstable, every breath heavier than the last. Are you afraid, human? She asked, her deep voice filling the tent, not mocking but curious. Daniel swallowed hard, his hands trembling slightly as he prepared the instruments. I would be a fool not to be, he admitted, but curiosity is stronger than fear. Her glowing eyes softened just slightly, an expression her soldiers outside would never believe she could make. Good, she said. Fear makes one weak, but curiosity builds worlds. He placed the blood sample under the scanner. The image appeared on his small screen. The strands of DNA twisted and broke violently, rebuilding themselves at unnatural speed. It was like watching a living storm trapped. Inside glass, Daniel whispered to himself. It's alive but unstable, almost like it's fighting itself. Vara tilted her head, her long hair shifting as the glow from her skin reflected off it. We were designed this way, she admitted. Built to fight, built to burn. The stronger we become, the shorter we live. Her voice grew heavier. My power grows, and so does the fire inside me. Daniel looked at her, eyes wide. If I attempt to change this, it could destroy you. Your body may reject the changes. Your mind could collapse. Her gaze never left him, steady as stone. Then let it, she said. If death comes, so be it, but if life comes, I will carry it. The weight of her words pressed on him. He felt the burden of her trust. She was giving him something no one else had. Her life, her very existence. Hours passed as Daniel worked, mixing chemicals, preparing a serum that could touch alien DNA, something forbidden by both human law and alien code. His hands shook, but he forced himself to continue, his mind burning with both fear and determination. At last he held the vial in his hand, a small tube glowing with faint golden liquid. The serum shimmered as if alive. He stared at it, knowing this could either save her or end her. Outside, Captain Reynolds stormed toward the tent, shouting, This has gone too far. Stop him before he kills us all. But before he could step inside, Vera's soldiers appeared from the shadows, blocking his way, their weapons humming with strange energy. The humans raised their rifles. Tension sparked in the air, war on the edge of breaking. Inside, Daniel ignored the shouting. His focus locked on Vera. She extended her arm toward him, her skin cracked with light, glowing brighter than before. "Do it," she ordered, her voice steady. "Show me what your kind can do." Daniel hesitated, the serum shaking in his hand. "If this fails, it will not only kill you, it may destroy me too." Her lips curved slightly, almost a smile. "Then, we will fall together." He pressed the injector to her arm. The needle slipped into her glowing skin. The serum entered her veins. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Silence thick as stone. Then her body convulsed violently. Her back arched. A deep growl tore from her throat. Light exploded under her skin like fire spreading across cracked glass. Daniel stumbled back, the tent shaking as if a storm had entered it. The ground trembled with the force of her body struggling. Soldiers outside shouted in alarm, thinking she was under attack, weapons cocked, but none dared step inside. Vera's hands clawed at the ground, her glowing veins twisting, her breath ragged, her eyes flickered between bright blue and shadow black. Daniel rushed forward, holding her shoulders, shouting, "Stay with me. Breathe. Don't give up." Her massive frame shook under his hands. She was burning alive from inside, the serum rewriting her DNA, tearing apart the broken strands and stitching them back together. It was a war inside her blood. Then suddenly, silence. Her body collapsed forward, her eyes shut, her glowing veins dimmed. The cracks across her skin fading, she lay still. Too still. Daniel pressed his hands over her chest, his voice desperate. No, don't you stop now, breathe," he shouted, slamming his fist down once, twice, panic rising in him like fire. "You can't die, not like this." The tent was silent, except for his voice, his heartbeat thundering in his ears. He was about to scream again when suddenly, her chest rose sharply. A deep gasp tore from her lungs. Her eyes snapped open, but this time they were different. They glowed not just blue, but with streaks of gold alive. Brighter than before, filled with something new. Her body still trembled, but the cracks on her skin had closed, her glow steady, her breathing calmer. Daniel fell back in shock, staring, unable to believe what he saw. The alien queen, feared across galaxies, had been changed, her DNA altered, not fully alien anymore, not fully human, but something new. She sat up slowly, her massive frame casting a shadow over him, her voice lower, softer. "Human," she whispered. "What have you done to me?" Daniel could barely speak, his voice shaking. I may have saved you, but deep inside both of them knew. This experiment was not just forbidden, it was the beginning of something the galaxy would never forget. The transformation begins. The camp was silent, every soldier frozen in place, the humans with rifles raised, the alien guards with weapons glowing, all of them waiting to see if their leader had lived or died. Inside the tent, Daniel sat on the ground, breathing hard, his hands still trembling from what he had done in front of him. Vera, the alien queen, slowly lifted herself, her long arms pushing against the earth, her body shuddering. But she did not fall. Her chest rose steady now, her breathing smoother than before. The cracks on her skin that once glowed with unstable blue light had closed, replaced by faint golden lines running across her arms and chest. Not broken, not flickering, but flowing steadily like rivers of fire. Her soldiers outside whispered among themselves, fear clear in their voices. They had never seen their queen like this. Never seen her glow in gold. Some thought it was strength, others thought it was corruption. Daniel's heart raced as he stared at her, his mind torn between fear and wonder. He had expected her to die, or maybe collapse forever, but instead she looked reborn. Vara's eyes met his, glowing with streaks of gold that burned like living fire. They were no longer the same eyes that had entered the camp last night. They carried something else now, something that felt almost human. Her voice came, low, rough yet steady. You touched my blood. You burned it, and now... She paused, her gaze moving to her glowing arms. I am no longer what I was. Daniel stood slowly, his body still shaking. Your DNA, he whispered. It accepted the change. It rebuilt itself with the serum. You're stable now. Your body isn't tearing apart anymore. She looked down at her hands, flexing her fingers as if feeling them for the first time. The golden light pulsed softly under her skin. She clenched, her fists, then released them. Stronger, she muttered. Different. But her words carried more than strength. There was fear, too, the fear of the unknown. Outside, Captain Reynolds pushed forward, yelling, Step away from it, Daniel. Step away now. She's unstable. But before he could enter, Vara stood, tall, her towering figure casting a shadow through the tent opening. Her presence silenced every voice outside. The humans stared, and even the alien guards fell quiet. She no longer looked like their queen of war. She looked like something new, something none of them could name. Daniel stepped beside her, though his knees trembled, his curiosity still stronger than his fear. How do you feel? He asked softly. Vara turned her head slightly, her golden eyes flicking down to him. For a moment she didn't answer. Then her deep voice rolled like distant thunder. Alive? More alive than I have ever been. The words carried through the camp like fire, the soldiers whispered, the alien guards hissed in disbelief, and Captain Reynolds shouted, She's lying, she's manipulating you, she'll destroy us all. But Daniel looked closer. He saw something in her eyes no one else did. Not rage, not trickery, but something fragile, something raw. She was fighting to understand what she had become. That night, the camp stayed tense. Guards on both sides holding weapons but not firing. Daniel sat again in the tent, scribbling notes by lamplight. Vara sat across from him, watching him with unblinking eyes. You risked much, she said, her voice lower now, almost thoughtful. Your own kind may punish you for breaking their laws. My kind may punish me for changing what I am. Daniel nodded, his eyes never leaving the strange patterns on his notes. It doesn't matter, he said. What matters is, you're alive. Your body isn't collapsing anymore. She leaned forward slightly, her towering frame closer than before, her golden eyes locked on him. And why did you care if I lived? The question hit him harder than he expected. He paused, his pen still in his hand, then said softly, Because I didn't see a monster when you walked into this camp. I saw someone in pain. Her expression shifted, not quite a smile, not quite anger. Something else, something she herself didn't understand. She leaned back slowly, her voice a whisper. Strange human. Suddenly, a scream echoed outside. One of the alien guards had seen the golden glow spreading further across her skin. Panic erupted. Some shouted she was cursed, others that she had betrayed their people. Vara rose sharply, her head nearly touching the top of the tent, her voice booming like thunder. Silence. The sound rolled through the camp. Both human and alien froze, her authority undeniable, but her soldiers still looked at her with fear in their eyes. She turned back to Daniel, her voice lower now, almost like a warning. They will not accept this. They will call me broken, unfit to lead, and they may try to kill me. Daniel felt a chill crawl through him. The weight of what he had done pressed harder. Not only had he changed her DNA, he had changed the future of her people. But Vara's golden eyes glowed brighter, her towering frame straightened, her voice stronger. Let them come, I will not fall, she said. Then after a pause, she looked at him again. Not while you stand beside me. The words struck him like fire, his breath caught. She was the queen. She had armies. She had power beyond measure. Yet she spoke as if his presence mattered. The night stretched on. The fires burned low. The camp filled with silence heavy as stone, Daniel wrote. Vara watched, and both of them knew the transformation had only just begun. And in that silence, the human and the alien leader realized something frightening and powerful. They were No longer just two beings from different worlds, they were now bound by blood, by choice, and by a change no one else could undo. The transformation had begun, and nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same again. Between life and death, the camp never slept that night. Both sides, humans and aliens, kept their weapons close. The fires burned low, and the air felt heavy, as if the world itself held its breath. Inside the tent, Daniel could hear every sound. Boots crunching outside, soldiers whispering, alien guards muttering in their strange tongue. But all of it faded against the sound that mattered most, Vara's breathing. She lay stretched on the ground, her massive frame trembling, her chest rising unevenly, sometimes slow, sometimes too fast, her golden veins pulsing like rivers of fire under her skin. Daniel sat beside her, fear gnawing. At his chest, one wrong shift in her body and she could die. Her hand, large and heavy, twitched beside him. He placed his smaller hand on it, his voice low. "Stay with me. Don't let it take you. You're stronger than this." Vara's eyes flickered open, glowing faintly gold. Her lips moved, her voice a whisper like distant thunder. "You, human, why do you keep fighting for me?" Daniel swallowed hard, the words leaving his mouth before he could stop them. "Because no one else will." Outside, Captain Reynolds paced like a wolf in a cage, his anger rising with every minute. "She's changing, don't you see? She's becoming something worse. If she lives, she'll destroy us all." His men shifted nervously, but none moved forward. They had seen what she was, and now, what she was becoming. On the other side of the camp, alien soldiers argued in hushed tones. Some swore their queen was cursed, others whispered she was blessed. Their fear tore them apart, and none dared step inside the tent. Daniel ignored them, all. His eyes locked on Vara, his hands working desperately, checking her pulse, cooling her skin with damp cloth, scribbling notes between moments of panic. He had never been this close to losing someone, never felt the weight of another life, pressing so heavily on his own chest. Suddenly, Vara's body convulsed, her back arched, a deep growl tore from her throat. The golden veins across her skin flared bright, then dimmed so fast it looked like the light was dying. Daniel dropped to his knees, pressing his hands against her chest. "No, no, no, stay with me," he shouted, his voice shaking. His heart hammering, he began pressing down, his hands moving fast, his voice breaking with every word. "Breathe, Vara, breathe." Her massive body did not move, her golden glow fading. The silence outside the tent grew sharper. Both humans and aliens waiting for the moment that would decide everything. Daniel leaned down, pressing his ear against her chest. Nothing. No heartbeat. No breath. Only silence. Panic clawed at his throat, his hands trembling as he pounded her chest again and again, his voice rising. "Don't you dare leave me. You're not done. You're not finished. Fight." For a terrible moment it felt hopeless. Her body still, her golden veins dark. The fire inside her gone. Daniel's vision blurred with tears he didn't even realize had fallen. And then, her chest heaved, her body jolted, her eyes snapped open, golden light flooding them like twin suns. She gasped a deep, raw breath, her voice ripping from her throat in a cry that shook the tent walls. Daniel stumbled back, his own chest heaving, relief crashing into him like a wave. He had been seconds away from losing her, seconds away from failing. Vara pushed herself up slowly, her body trembling but alive, her golden veins glowing steady now, stronger, brighter, no longer flickering like before. She looked down at her own hands in wonder, her voice low, almost reverent. "I returned." Daniel wiped his face quickly, trying to hide the tears, his voice weak. "You almost didn't." She turned her gaze to him, her golden eyes burning but softer than before. "But you did not let me go?" Outside, the silence broke. Human soldiers whispered in shock. Alien guards muttered prayers. None had expected her to rise again. None had expected the fire to return brighter than before. Captain Reynolds growled, his face pale. "She's worse now, stronger. Look at her. Daniel's created a monster." He raised his rifle, but his men hesitated. None dared fire. The weight of what they had seen held their hands still. Vara rose to her full height, taller than any of them. Her golden light casting shadows across the camp, she looked at Daniel, then at the soldiers, then at her own guards. Her voice rolled like thunder. I was broken, I was dying, and this human gave me life. You call it weakness. I call it truth. Her alien guards fell silent, some kneeling in fear, some in awe. The humans lowered their rifles slowly, none brave enough to defy the presence standing before them. Daniel stood behind her, his heart still racing. He realized in that moment she was no longer just their queen, no longer just a leader of war. She had become something else, something neither side could fully understand. And though she stood tall, golden light steady, Daniel knew the fight was not over. He could see the exhaustion still clinging to her. The war between life and death had not ended. It had only paused. Vera turned her head slightly, her voice dropping low so only he could hear. They will come for me, human. My enemies, my council, even my own soldiers. They will see me as unfit, as cursed. But I am more than I was, and they will learn to fear it. Daniel nodded, his voice quiet but firm. Then they'll have to go through me first. Her golden eyes locked with his, a flicker of something unspoken passing between them. Something fragile, dangerous, but undeniable. Between life and death they had found each other, and the galaxy itself was about to change. A dangerous bond. The camp was no longer the same. The moment Vara rose glowing with golden veins, everything had changed. Soldiers no longer whispered about her as an enemy. They whispered about her as something unnatural, something reborn. Her own alien guards no longer looked at her with loyalty alone, but with fear and doubt. Daniel felt the change in the air. Every step he took drew eyes, some filled with suspicion, some with anger, some with silent wonder. He had touched what was forbidden, altered the DNA of the Queen herself, and now he was no longer just a scientist. He was the man who carried her secret in his hands. That night, he sat in the tent again, scribbling down endless notes by lamplight, the air heavy with silence. Vera stood beside him, her towering shadow stretching across the canvas walls. She did not speak at first, only watched him, the golden glow of her veins reflecting off the paper as he wrote. Finally, her voice broke the silence, deep, calm, yet carrying a weight he could not ignore. You risked everything for me, why? Daniel paused, the pen stopping in his hand. He looked up at her massive frame, her eyes glowing faintly like two burning suns. Because I couldn't watch you die, he said softly. Because I saw more than a queen when you came into this camp. I saw someone fighting to survive. Her eyes narrowed, not in anger but in thought. Her lips curved slightly, a strange expression for one who was feared across galaxies. No one has ever spoken to me like that, not even my own council. They see only power, only war, but you? She tilted her head, lowering her voice. You saw me. Daniel's chest tightened at her words. He turned his gaze away, but her towering figure stepped closer, her presence surrounding him. Do not turn from me, human. I do not break easily, but your words cut deeper than blades. Before he could reply, shouts echoed outside the tent. The camp stirred. Captain Reynolds was gathering his men, his voice harsh and filled with rage. We can't let her stay like this. She's dangerous. She's infected with something unnatural. And that boy is blinded by her tricks. Daniel froze, his stomach tightening. He knew what was coming. Vara's golden eyes glowed brighter as if she sensed it too. She stepped to the entrance of the tent, pulling back the flap. The firelight outside bathed her in gold. Reynolds stood with his rifle raised, dozens of soldiers behind him, their weapons trembling in their hands, but their eyes filled with fear and hate. Step away from it, Daniel, Reynolds barked. This ends now before she destroys us all. Daniel's voice cracked as he shouted back, No, you don't understand. She's not the same anymore. She's stable. She's alive. Because of this, Reynolds sneered, his eyes burning with fury. Stable, you call that stable? Look at her, glowing like a demon. She's not your friend, she's a weapon waiting to burn us all alive. The alien guards on the other side growled, their strange weapons humming. The air grew thick. One spark could ignite war between both sides. Vara raised her hand slowly, her deep voice cutting through the chaos. Enough. The sound rolled like thunder, silencing the crowd. She stepped forward, towering over all of them, her golden glow steady, her gaze unshaken. If I wanted war, I would not have come alone. I would not have bled in this camp. I stand here changed because one human gave me life, and if you call that a curse, then perhaps you fear what you cannot control. The soldiers shifted, uneasy. Reynolds's jaw clenched, but even he did not fire. Daniel moved beside her, his heart racing, his voice steadier than he felt. She's not lying. I saw her breaking apart. I saw her on the edge of death, and I saved her. If you can't see she's more than what you fear, then maybe you're the dangerous one, not her. The words shocked the camp. Murmurs spread. Even some of Reynolds' men looked uncertain. Reynolds glared at Daniel, his voice sharp. You've let her poison your mind, he spat. And when she turns on you, don't say I didn't warn you. He lowered his rifle slowly, but the fire in his eyes promised this wasn't over. He turned and stormed off, his men following reluctantly. Vera stood silent, her gaze following him until he disappeared into the darkness. Then she turned her golden eyes down at Daniel. You defied your own people for me, she said, her voice low, steady, but carrying something heavier beneath. Daniel nodded, his chest still pounding. And I'll do it again if I have to. For a long moment she said nothing, then her massive hand reached out slowly, not in command, not in power, but almost in trust. She placed it gently against his shoulder, her voice softer than he had ever heard it. Strange human, she whispered. You may be the only one I can trust now. The words lingered in the air, heavy and unspoken, a bond forming in the shadows of war. That night, as the camp tried to sleep, Daniel and Vera remained in the tent, the fire outside flickering, the world holding its breath, both of them knowing one truth. A dangerous bond had been forged, and soon it would be tested by forces greater than either of them could imagine. A new future. The next dawn rose with a red sky. The camp looked tense, every soldier restless, every alien guard uneasy. Rumors had already spread beyond the valley. The alien queen was no longer the same. She had been touched by human hands, altered in ways her people would never forgive. Daniel stood outside the tent, the cold morning, air biting against his skin, his notes clutched in his hands, his mind replaying every moment of the last 2 days. The injection, her collapse, her return with golden veins glowing like fire. He knew the world had changed, but he did not yet know how far the change would reach. Vara emerged from the tent, tall, radiant, her golden glow soft but steady. Her steps heavy with purpose, the camp fell into silence as she walked forward, every eye locked on her, both human and alien. One of her alien commanders broke from the crowd, his voice sharp, filled with anger and fear. You are not our queen anymore. You are corrupted. You are unclean. Others joined, hissing in agreement. You let a human change you. You are no longer pure. Vara's gaze burned like molten metal. Her voice rolled like thunder. I'm still your queen, but I am no longer chained to the curse of our makers. I am more now, and you fear it. Her words cut the air like a blade. The alien soldiers shifted, some lowering their eyes in shame, others raising their weapons in defiance. Daniel stepped forward, his heart pounding. She's alive because of this change, stronger, stable. If you destroy her, you destroy the only chance you have to survive your own curse, Captain Reynolds barked back. You're blind, Daniel, can't you see? If she spreads this infection, none of us will survive. He raised his rifle, his men following, their rifles clinking as they locked into place. The alien guards did the same, weapons glowing, the valley ready to erupt into blood, the air so heavy it felt like the ground itself held its breath. Vara stepped between both sides, towering over them, her golden veins glowing brighter, her arms spread wide, her voice shaking the camp. Enough, she roared. Look at me. I was broken, dying, cursed, and yet I still stand, not because of power, not because of armies, but because one human dared to see me as life, not as a weapon. Her gaze swept across them, her voice steady now. You call me corrupted. I call myself free. I will no longer bow to a curse written in my blood. I will no longer lead through fear. I will lead through choice. Her alien guards hesitated, confusion filling their faces. They looked at each other, torn between old loyalty and new fear. Daniel's voice rose, strong despite his shaking hands. She's not your enemy. She's your future, and if you can't see that, then you'll watch your people burn while she walks into tomorrow without you. The silence broke when one alien soldier dropped to his knees, his head bowed. Golden flame, he whispered. She is reborn. Another followed, and another. Soon half of them knelt, their fear turning into something like reverence. Reynolds cursed, his face pale with rage. Fools, all of you, she's tricking you. He lifted his rifle to fire, but Vera moved faster, her massive hand slamming the weapon down, the metal crumpling like clay, her golden eyes burning into his. I do not need to trick them, she said coldly. The truth is enough. Reynolds stumbled back, his men lowering their weapons nervously. None dared move. Vera turned her gaze back to her people, her voice rising again. I am not what I was, I am more. And if you follow me, I will show you a new path, not bound by death, not chained by old blood, but built on survival and strength, together with those who once were enemies. Her words echoed across the valley. The fires crackling, the soldiers staring. Daniel felt his chest tighten. He realized he was witnessing history, a moment that would change more than just their lives. It would change the galaxy. Vera lowered her massive hand, turning to Daniel, her golden eyes softer, her voice quieter so only he could hear. You did this, human. You gave me life, you gave me choice, and now, you must stand with me. Daniel nodded, his voice trembling but firm. I already am. The alien queen straightened, her towering frame casting a long shadow as the sun climbed higher. Half her people kneeling, the other half staring in silence, the humans lowering their rifles slowly, Captain Reynolds defeated. The world seemed to pause, then shift, something new being written in the air, a human and an alien queen, bound by blood and choice, standing together not as enemies, not as master and subject, but as something far more dangerous. All across the galaxy, legends would one day whisper of the moment an 8-foot alien leader was forever altered by one human's hands, and how together they gave birth to a new future,